Okay, we are in Derech Hashem, page 556. The Ramchal is having explained the importance of the exodus from Egypt. The Ramchal concludes why we recall it each day in the Shema. So he explains, this rectification was permanently established within us, as we have mentioned, and all the benefits that we received and continue to receive all depend upon it. And he says this is because without it, we would still be marred in the evil and contamination of the sins of Adam and of those of the earlier generations. So this became our crucible. That's the whole point of the Exodus, of the Egyptian experience. We are therefore commanded to constantly remember it and to recite it verbally. For in this manner, the rectification is reinforced with us, the light intensifies within us, and the purpose that is meant to emerge from that rectification remains constantly with us. And he explains, although the Pesach Seder serves to reinforce the holiness received during the redemption, the daily recollection of the Exodus ensures that the rectification remains constant. This helps maintain our acceptance of Hashem's sovereignty and the yoke of His mitzvot. And let's understand that if I can always remember the Exodus of Egypt and the plagues and everything else that went into that, so I'm going to always remember that Hashem is large and in charge. That's really the whole concept, that God is the Borei Olam, that God is the creator of the world, because only the creator of the world could do what He did to nature. In those 10 plagues, it was against nature. Many of them were against nature. Certainly the killing of the firstborn, regardless of how well that we can explain these things today. Let's understand that. If you've watched James Cameron decoding Exodus, he gives a plausible explanation. Besides all those things, let's say everybody is correct in their assessment of what happened. It doesn't change the fact that it's still a miracle, that all the firstborns, and if you followed Cameron's theory, so the reason that all the firstborns died was because they were all in bunk beds, and the firstborn was lower to the ground, always, or the oldest was always lowest to the ground, and that's where the mist came up from wherever pond it was and killed everybody. Again, you can believe him and say, yes, Baruch Hashem, we've explained the death of the firstborn. I have no problem with anybody doing that. The fact of the matter is, what do you mean? There was not one younger kid who decided he's going to sleep in the lowest bunk. And that would have been forbidden. So, how could it only be the firstborn? And so on and so forth. But you have you have people who explain it in various different ways, which sea was split, how it was split, where the records are. They found the ark in someplace in Ararat. They found a keel. It's a box. I don't know why we'd have a keel for. It's a box. It's described as a box, not as a boat. It's not an ark. It's a teva. It wasn't meant to be driven anywhere. There was no sails on this thing, okay? But nonetheless, again, archaeologists want to claim a lot of different things, and I have no problem with it. Say you found a boat on a mountain. Who cares? My faith is not based upon what they find or what they don't find. But if somebody needs to use that, so that's what it is. But here, when it comes to the Exodus, the reason we're saying it, the reason we have to remind ourselves, is because we are saying that this was all done by God, and only God could affect that. So if I have to remember that every single day, because that will bring me, again, that's the rectification of the sin that has to be done. Because what was Adam's sin? Really, denial of God. God's not in charge. He told me to do something, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to perfect the system, because God doesn't have a perfect system. So I have to perfect that system. So I'm going to eat from the fruit. Okay, so you didn't do anything, you disobeyed. So all these things are just reminders that we have to obey, which is why we wear tzitzis, and so on and so forth. Okay. So Ramchal describes yet another dimension of the rectification of the 3 sections of the Shema. He says, there is yet another rectification included in the general recital of these passages. This involves rectification of the person, all of its specific aspects, through the light of the oneness of Hashem, and similarly to rectify through it all the particulars of the creation. So he says, the Ramchal stated earlier that each of the mitzvot correspond to a different aspect of man. Here he states that reciting the Shema in the proper manner rectifies all of the aspects of a person through the illumination of Hashem's oneness, and also that when a person perfects himself, he perfects the rest of creation with him. Thus, if a person can perfect all aspects of his being, he can perfect all the elements of the creation that are associated with him. And the Ramchal is now going to explain that everything in creation corresponds to a different aspect of man. So you see that by perfecting ourselves and by following Hashem's ways, that we are also perfecting creation. And he explains this so because the general aspects of man are 248, which are also the 248 limbs. The division. Remember, you have to remember that we have, he says it here, I think, somewhere. Yeah, there are 248 limbs corresponding to the positive mitzvot, and 300, I'm not seeing it here, and 365 commandments, negative commandments, corresponding to the art, what is it?
Organs?
No, the arteries and all those things that go with sinews, arteries. How they get, by the way, let's understand something. I'm not going to argue about the actual number of anything, because I don't know how things are counted, because in our hand we have a lot of bones. So the Gemara even deals with this. And so I think that what they want to say is that when we're born or something, I forget when it was, sooner or later they get to 248, but it's not right away. So again, I don't know how they come up with it, because again, if you break down in our hands, we have a lot of bone structure there. So you have to. They have their way of counting. It's not how we count today, clearly. Okay. This is so because the general aspects of man are 248, which are, like I said, which are his 248 limbs. The division within creation based upon the mechanisms also number 248. So you said that the systems of creation are interconnected like a mechanism with interlocking gears. The Ramchal now states that all of the systems of creation can be divided into 248 mechanisms. So he says, both the person and the creation must be rectified through the light of Hashem's oneness, and this is rectified by the 248 words in Kriyat Shema. So we see a lot of things with 248. And he explains, thus, if a person perfects all of his limbs, he will consequently rectify all of the elements of creation. Kinnas Hashem Tzavakot. The Ramchal explains that man is a microcosm of the world, so that whatever he does with one of his limbs affects its corresponding element within creation. In addition to the need for a particular rectification of each limb, an element within creation through the performance of a corresponding positive mitzvah, there is need for rectification through the light of Hashem's oneness, which underlies the whole of Shema. Also, I'll add this, that when you say, that, not you, when we all say, in the Shemona Esrei, Sim Shalom, the last paragraph, it says we're asking Hashem to bestow us with His light. And the light means the enlightenment of what's going on. Only through God does wisdom come. We can't come up with it on our own. We think we can, but it's really not. And that's why when an artist is doing something, or even a playwright, or what do you call it? Not a playwright. Do you call it playwright? Guys who write plays? Yeah? Okay, so they will tell you they were inspired. They had a heavenly inspiration, whatever the case is going to be. They have muses. They have all these things. Well, we are inspired by something. And so we, every day, in the morning, and if you're Sfard 3 times a day, that's you guys. If you daven Sfard, so you're always saying, "Let Hashem give me divine light, as it were. Inspire me with that light. So that's what's going on here. Okay, so now, next page. So the Ramchal discusses the brachot that accompany the recital of the Shema. He says, Chazal linked to this concept the brachot, the blessings associated with the Kriyat Shema, the recital of the Shema. This is based on the fact that each day of all existence is renewed by Hashem. You have to remember that Hashem, that's why we say Mechadesh B'chol Yom. God is renewing the creation every single day. It's not something that God just put into place and left the area, if you will. Okay, it's not like a builder. It's not like somebody who makes the clock or your car. You'll fix the car one time. Hopefully, it'll stay repaired without you having to rip apart your transmission or whatever it is again to do that. Well, Hashem's not doing that. Hashem, talk about using up resources. He created the earth, and every second of our lives, every nanosecond, Hashem has to think about this place, and then every day He's renewing the place. So it's never a done deal. As a matter of fact, the world can self-destruct, if you will, anytime. It's not. If Hashem, as it were, would take His quote-unquote mind off of us, we would cease to exist. There's something very important to remember, that we are here by the behest of God, and only by that. Yeah.
If He were to take our mind off of us, even for a second or a split second,
nanosecond,
we would then be in the same case if He were to remember, like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, Hashem can't forget.
I know, but
so.
if we're taking in theoretical.
If you take the theoretical, could God bring us back? Of course He could.
Yeah.
God can do anything. But if God would, as it were, again, in Hebrew, the term is kaviyachol, as it were. There's no English translation for that, really. But kaviyachol, if Hashem would take His mind off us, it would be over. So if He would say, oh yeah, I forgot. Okay. Yeah, I theoretically, we could come back and it would be like a blip on the screen, I get to watch a lot on the computer. So what happens is, when you're watching it, sometimes the computer freezes. Ever happened to you? You're in the middle of something, computer freezes. So what you refresh the page. Okay? Sometimes it comes back, sometimes it doesn't. Well, I was watching the computer. I was watching something on the computer, and what happened was, the speaker said something. It was a blip in the computer. I went back, and I heard the same line again. I said, okay, fine. It'll go on. And then went back again. I was thinking, what are you trying to tell me, God, really? Okay, how many times do I have to hear the same speech over and over again? It wasn't the Torah thing I was watching. It was something totally different. And it was just over and over. It was in the old days, by the way, that you belong before you guys, there was a vinyl record. Remember that? But just keep going over and over again. And finally, when I said, okay, enough of this, I refreshed the page one more time. It went, but I missed that whole speech as a result, because it went to the other part of the speech. It was a live show. So you just had to pass that. Which is, again, interesting. It's a live show. How'd you get into a loop? It's live, so how do you get into a loop? Doesn't make sense. But that's what happens, because really it's not live. That's you realizing. Nothing's really live. It's all part of the matrix. Okay. But that's what's, again, so Hashem is renewing it every single day. And we have to really think about that. And that's why we say, you brought us back. We acknowledged before, you brought us back. You renewed our soul. Okay? So, again, would God ever for a nanosecond forget us? And could He remember us? I guess He could, but I don't think that was, first of all, you can't forget it. Again, but speaking in human terms, so if you're going to use that, then yeah, I guess He could bring us back. But I don't think He would. I think He said, forget it the first time, hey, I'm through. That's just my guess. Okay. This from two aspects, he says. One is the aspect regarding the maintenance and the continuation of creation. And he says, this is the Nefesh HaChaim, in the Nefesh HaChaim, he states that Hashem provides Shefa to maintain the existence of creation at each and every moment. However, okay. So Hashem here is Ramchal, is referring to a refreshing renewal beyond simple existence that takes place every day. So again, one of the aspects. One is the aspect regarding the maintenance and continuation of creation. For the chef is renewed in everything, that it may maintain itself and continue its existence. Reb Chaim Friedlander uses the example of a person who renews his strength with each meal that he eats. Similarly, Hashem gives a certain amount of shefa to the world each day, that it may be refreshed with new energy for its own maintenance. The second aspect is based on the fact that all of the days of the 6,000 years of the existence of the world are all equally divided and standing before Hashem. And he says, time is a created reality. Thus, each day stands before Hashem, so to speak. You understand? So, time is made up. God created it, but it's made up. What? Okay. So it's sin before Hashem within the framework of the illumination, the hashpaot, realities and circumstances that are required for the world, so it may complete the desired world cycle and attain perfection. By the way, the 6,000 years, let me just make a point about 6,000 years. We don't know what that is. We really don't. How do you count 6,000? Is it 6,000 by our calendar? Yes, guys. Is it 6,000 by our calendar? If so, we're in 5, 7. What year is this? 5, 6. It was 5, 7, 6, 6. 7, 6, even better. We're going up as we go. Thank you. 5, 7, 7, 6. Okay, so according to our count, we would have a couple more years to go. 200. What is it? 234. Thank you. You're a better man than me, Gangadin. 234. So in 234 years, when we're all here sitting at the table and we're discussing this, we can say, oh, now it's year 6,000. Done. We finished our job on this planet. Okay. The problem is that if you read some of our rabbis, so for instance, Nachmanides, he said in the year 1100 of our time, his time, it should have been the time for Mashiach, according to the Gemaras. So again, year 6,000, I have no idea what 6,000 really means. I have no idea what 6 creation days means. I have no idea about any of that stuff. When it comes to real time like that, you're going to tell me which day it is? I'm not sure. So there's a very big argument about that. And some people would hold 6,000. It is. A day is a day. A day is 24 hours. And zehu. Again, you can talk all you want until we hit 6,000. When we hit 6,000, year 6,000 Jewish time, then we'll have, if Mashiach doesn't show up by that point, Chas v'shalom, hopefully he'll show up today, before the class is over. Okay. He has to come through South Bend first. We all know that. But if he would show up, I have no problem. It's done. But if he doesn't show up in 6,000, what's going to happen? We'll say we got the wrong count. Simple as that. The same way they did with the story of Esther. Why did all the kings get it wrong? They all got it wrong because they didn't know where they were counting from. It's easy to count 6,000, but I have to know where I'm counting from. So that's another part of it. So do I count from creation? If so, what's the first day considered? The sun wasn't up yet. The sun wasn't created until the 4th day. Yeah. I should say the sun wasn't put into place till the 4th day. He was created. Everything was created on the 1st day, according to Rashi and other commentators. Yeah.
Does Judaism explain deja vu?
Why?
Because could deja vu be because if God's refreshing the world every single day or every single second or every single moment?
Yes.
So deja vu could be a noticeable refreshment.
No.
like
No.
That's just wrangling.
That's really getting into Matrix.
Yeah.
No. Deja vu would be because my neshama was here before, and I went through this, or it was a dream sequence, or it was a bit of prophecy in my dream sequence. It wouldn't be because Hashem is refreshing the screen. No. This is not the Matrix. This is real. We're breathing. We have to do mitzvot. That's the end of it. The Matrix is a nice fantasy. Okay. So anyway, he says like this: each day has this unique role to play in leading the world to its perfected state. In other words, Hashem distributed the various elements needed to perfect the world within the daily divisions that fill the 6 millennia, each day having its own purpose. This also applies to each individual person. Every day of a person's life is required for the fulfillment of a particular mission in this world. This is what is stated in reference to Avram Avinu, that he was Ba B'Yamim, came with his days. He left this world with all of his days perfected in the service of Hashem. This concept is explained further in Pichei Chochmah V'Dat, and then the Ramchal adds that each year of the 6 millennia has its own unique purpose as well. So we're seeing a purpose to everything. It's not just I'm repeating this cycle, by the way. Each day has its purpose. So we have to fulfill that purpose on the way to perfection. Consequently, a continuous consequence for each day is literally a new aspect of creation, which explains this is because each day contains a state of creation that never existed previously. Although the outer physical manifestation of that day of creation may look the same as the previous one, a new type of Shefa is infused into the creation daily. Another amazing thing, yeah.
That sounds exactly like, but if not close to the definition of time itself. Time keeps moving forward, though it looks the same, it's actually moving forward.
Minutely different.
It's minutely different. Tomorrow, there might be a huge explosion at the power plant in China, but right now it's different, or until something else happens noticeably. But
Right.
things are changing, technically.
Right. And therefore, so you're saying that their definition of time matches Ramchal's definition of why God has to renew the world. I'll accept that if that's what you're saying. I have no problem with it.
Similar. Yeah,
No problem with it. Again, we're all looking at the same thing. We're just looking at it from different perspectives. We're looking at it from a Torah perspective, and they would be looking at it from a let's try to figure out what's going on here, sort of thing, scientific. Actually, it's just theoretical, it's not even scientific. It would be a theory on their part. But we're coming out with, this is what's happening. God is giving a new shefa into the world. Every day a new shefa, a new influence, whatever you want to call shefa. But a new divine influence into the world, which we didn't have the day before. So I can discover new things. As I'm going, I can get new feelings. I have to be aware of that, by the way. And that's what he's trying to make us do, be aware of that. But I have to be aware of that, and I have to be ready to receive that shefa too. If I'm not a vessel that's ready to receive it, I'm going to just think same old, and that nothing's going to change. So he says, and through that aspect, Hashem renews the entire existence. And he says thus, in addition to merely renewing the creation each day, Hashem designates each day with a unique mission. Using the analogy above, it would be equivalent to of reprogramming the machine daily, in addition to recharging its batteries. So in the Pitzchet Shuva, Vadas Ramchal explains that the first concept involves the maintenance of the world, while the second relates to changes within the world as a result of man's actions, which lead to reward or punishment. Okay, you have to, again, if I follow what Hashem wants, I get reward. If I don't, I get punished. It's the natural, by the way, it's a natural consequence, not because Hashem, as it were, wants it. Let's understand that too. Okay, Hashem doesn't want to punish us. Hashem doesn't want anything bad for us. We are the ones that cause that when we break the rules, but that's a natural consequence. Could Hashem stop it? Yes, of course, Hashem could stop it. Does Hashem stop it? Yes, of course, He does stop it. And that's why we say He has a tremendous amount of chesed, depending on what it is. Sometimes He will let it happen. It's all part of the divine plan. Whatever is best for us is what's going to happen. So if that's the case, let me ask you, why, if you're doing something wrong, why would it not be for the best if Hashem would punish you right then and there?
Wait.
In other words, I do something wrong,
Yeah.
and Hashem lets me go. And I say, oh, this is for the best. Okay, but meanwhile, I got away with it. Why not just punish me right then and there, or reward me tell me if I did something good, reward me right then and there, and help me go. Yeah. So what would you say?
You could learn something if you get punished later for it.
Yeah.
And if you get punished later for it, you might learn to use that in something that might happen in the future. So if you're punished. If you're punished then.
If I was punished right now, why wouldn't it be the same thing, right? I still know I couldn't do it.
Punishment right away is something you use for children.
Free will.
So they understand, But as we get older and you're spiritually more aware, then you don't really need to be punished right away sometimes.
Why not?
Because you know.
Why do you punish a child right away?
Because they're too dumb to know better. And so,
Too dumb to know better?
well, I mean, they're
I would
not as
grab
intelligent at that age. They're not that educated. So therefore, they need to get punished right away so that they know that was wrong, and they need to know why they get punished too.
Okay. You want to see Pavlovian dogs? Go ahead.
Does it say in the Torah or just the rabbis say don't punish a child right away, just wait, calm down, and then when you're calm,
That is God.
or is that what?
Or is it not?
The rabbis don't come up with anything, so it's coming from the Torah. It's coming from probably Proverbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a concept of that. You calm down because you shouldn't punish anybody in anger. You should be, because then you're punishing them because you're angry versus being corrective. Yeah.
So, but God can't get angry.
Correct.
So.
Because God's always in control.
So free will?
Yeah, basically free will. If God would punish us or reward us, and every time we did something, He would reward us and punish us each time we did wrong, we would cease to have free will. That's all. It's as simple as that. Our free will will be taken away because. Say again?
You already spoke about that earlier.
I'll be speaking about it for the rest of my life.
I'm saying Ramchal already spoke about it earlier.
All right, yeah. That's the whole thing. But that you have to keep reminding everybody that this is what's going on. You have to always remember.
Right away, you couldn't freely.
Sorry?
If he punished you right away, you couldn't freely
Repent of that. Oh yeah.
You couldn't do tshuva. There would be no.
Well, you would do teshuva, but it would be based upon.
After you got whacked.
Right.
That's
That's
not real tshuva. That's like you said. They lose the free will.
You lose free will. Well, it is real tshuva, by the way. It's real tshuva. But I'm not. But what element aren't I building up, by the way? I'm doing it out of fear. What aren't I building up? Ahava. I'm not building up love. I'm not doing it out of love. In other words, if I'm a beloved teacher, then my students will not act up when I walk out of the room, because they wouldn't want to do anything that would be bad that would reflect badly upon me. When we send our kids off to the world, and they're our representatives, we don't want them to do anything that's going to reflect badly upon us, but they're also out of our reach. So what happens? If they love us, then they won't do anything to embarrass us. If they respect us, for that matter, they'll endeavor not to embarrass us. If they were doing it, if they were keeping control just because they were afraid of us, then they loosen the reins and they go do what they're going to do, which is why first-year students in college, go to any normal college, I'm sure that this happens in Notre Dame, although they don't consider it normal because it's so expensive. But the first year students who are on the first time on their own, they have drinking parties, they get involved in things they shouldn't get involved in, all because the reins are free. I know at UMass they did that. The whole floor, for the most part, flunked out the first semester because they were free. Okay, so again, there's a lack of respect for your parents, a lack of love for your parents. Certainly they have money, and that's what so Hashem says. One second. So Hashem is saying to us through all this, or actually the Ramchal is saying that we have to, if we internalize this love, if we internalize this respect, that's when that's the shefa that's coming to us. That's when we're going to have. We're going to do what we should be doing instead of the other way around. Yeah.
Off topic, just out of curiosity.
Off topic,
What does flunk mean?
Get an F.
Oh, so
Flunk means they failed. They failed their subject, so they had. And for UMass Amherst, you could fail one semester and still stay in the school. If you failed 2 semesters anywhere in your career, you were expelled for life. They wouldn't let you back in.
why is it called flunked?
Google it. When it comes to that, I have no idea why they call it flunked. You flunked out. You're a flunky. I guess flunky. I mean, it probably comes from that. Am I right?
Must be.
Yeah. Okay. Flunky. A loser. In today's political arena, loser. I guess. But that's what it is. They called it flunking for failing. All F's. I don't know. Whatever it was. Okay. I don't know if UMass still has that policy, but they had it those days. Okay. It says, I was on this? No. Okay, right. So now he finishes off this section by saying, about this is stated in the first bracha of the morning Shema. In his goodness, he renews daily the work of creation. And this includes both aspects of renewal, just mentioned, energy, emission. The Mare Derech points out that in our recital of the bracha, we add continuously, the word continuously, and posits that renews daily refers to the daily mission Hashem assigns us each day, while continuously refers to providing constant shefa to maintain the existence of creation. Okay, so now he's relating the concepts to both brachot that precede the Shema. Based on this principle, Chazal, the rabbis, instituted these brachot of Shema and the praises contained within them. And he says, brachot recited before performing a mitzvah are generally concise. The brachot of Shema, however, contain lengthy praises of Hashem. And they relate to all the created beings collectively. We praise Hashem for his creation of the entire world, which are being renewed daily. So thus, each day deserves fresh praise to Hashem for his renewal of that particular day. The group of these created beings are divided into 2 categories. The first is all of the created beings of the world, including the lower physical beings and the higher spiritual beings. The second category is the collectivity of humanity, which he says, this deserves its own category because when discussing divine service, man is different from everything else in the creation. Man was created to serve Hashem, while everything else, spiritual and physical, were created solely to assist man in his service, namely of service of Hashem. Yeah.
So, would they also be serving Hashem, at least by proxy?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Well, if we're serving Hashem, and they're all created to assist us in that service, so yeah, they're all there to serve Hashem, including the little animals and those little mosquitoes that are bothering us. They're all from Hashem to bother us. Yeah.
What about when we don't? Do they still assist us?
When we don't what?
When we don't follow Hashem, do they still assist us?
No, they're
They were created for that. They don't assist you. They don't assist you to sin.
No, right. They assist you in your mission to serve God.
Right.
When you stop serving God,
Chas v'shalom.
right. When you stop serving God,
Do
they're
they
still
perish?
around. Right.
Yes, they're still wrong. Nothing to do that day.
Right.
They have a day off.
Right. Okay.
Right.
They're no longer.
They're here to assist us in what we're doing. Right. If we're serving Hashem, if we're not, so people they have
punishing us if we're not serving Hashem.
Could be. That's by Hashem.
That's part of them serving Hashem.
Right.
They do whatever.
Right. I mean, I said that's what I said. They say what are gnats for, what are mosquitoes for, what are flies for, to bother us. So yeah, I mean, in that way, if you could bring you back, all of these things. If you don't listen to the message, it doesn't really help you. So that's part of the problem too. Many times we get the little hit, but we don't listen to that hit. So we have to be hit again and again and again and again. So then we come up with God hates us because he hit us so many times. So obviously God hates us because sadly for us, God doesn't speak to us. Or if he does, we don't listen. As I said many times, we don't hear him because we don't want to. And we're not tuned into the God channel. But in reality, we're getting hints all the time what we should be doing. And we feel what we should be doing. We feel when we should. We know what we're doing wrong. We know it. And our decision is, do I do this or don't I do this? Again, that's part of the free choice. So there are consequences with each and every choice that we make. If I choose to do right, there's a negative choice with that too. Let's understand that. There's a negative thing with that because while God is on my side, humanity is not. I'll never forget that when my brother first started to wear kippah, we were in my hometown and he was... I guess we were driving. I don't know what was going on. And it must have been walking. We're on the street. He's walking with a kippah on his head. And one of his friends stopped him and said, "What's going on? It's not a Jewish holiday today." So, my brother knew what he was really hitting, but he didn't want to give in to it. My brother can be that way. So he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Why are you wearing the yarmulke?" They didn't call it the kippah. "Why are you wearing a yarmulke?" So my brother said, "Because I'm Jewish. Why aren't you wearing one?" My brother threw it back at the guy. He said, "Because I'm not religious." And so my brother, and so he said, "So now you're religious? Now you're only doing this?" And my brother said, "I'm wearing a kippah. What are you making all stink about it for? What's your problem? It's not for outside." Okay, you had that. So what happens? He was doing something correct, and society, Jewish society, the Christian society doesn't care one way or another what we do. They were saying, "Shut still, be quiet. Let's hide this. We don't want this out. We don't want people to know who we are." Now, I have to say that in defense of that guy and his family and so on and so forth, it has been good for us to always be very vocal about who we are. People did kill us for being who we are. And very recently, a French rabbi came out and said, "Don't wear a kippah in public because the police aren't protecting us. They will kill us. So better to put a hat on. What are you going to do? Walk around bareheaded." They came out like that. So what are you going to do? Yeah, because it's only a custom. It's not a halacha that I have to do. It's a custom. We accept it as halacha. They fine, but it's still a custom. It's showing that I have fear of God. Good. But if they're going to kill me for it, there's no halacha that says I have to die for a kippah. It's not the hill to die on. Yeah. I'm not saying take it off.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Yay, the Rebbe said take off my kippah. Throw it away. Go ahead.
Is yarmulke a Hebrew word?
Yeah.
English.
Oh, so it's interesting. Yarei Malka I think it comes from the Aramaic. It's Yiddish today, but it's coming from Yarei Malka, the fear of the king. Why do I wear a kippah? Why do I wear a yarmulke? Because I'm supposed to have fear of the king. The king's above me. So when I want to show I'm subservient to the king, so I wear this symbol which says I'm subservient to the king. It's nothing to do with anything else. This really is just a custom, yeah. It comes from a Gemara, by the way. The Gemara says that there was the rabbi told the mother that put a hat on him or he's going to become a thief. So she puts a hat on her kid, and one day it fell off, and he stole an apple from whatever it was from the tree, and so she said, "Put it all back on. You're gonna be a thief." And that's where Yare Malka. That's the story. Yeah.
So, what does kippah mean?
Covering.
Like Yiddish is kepi?
Yeah, but that kippah is ought to be from the Hebrew. Like I said, Yare Malka is where it probably comes from. That would be Aramaic. They went to Yiddish to go to Yamalka, and then Hebrew when people didn't want to be in the language of Galut anymore. The language of Yiddish is considered the diaspora language, so they wanted to go to Hebrew. So now the Israelis would call it kippah. So people go all the way.
Where did
Depends on what you
that
want to do.
custom start?
Again, the Gemara. That Talmudic statement. People are covering their heads. I mean, today we do it because it's halakha.
200 years before BC,
That's
or you don't know when it started.
I know I have to wear it, so it doesn't matter to me. Could have started last week. I don't know. For all intent and purposes, I have to do it. It's in the code of Jewish law. I have to do it. So I have to do it, unless for some reason it would be a danger of life. Like I said, in France, it was a danger. Apparently, is a danger to the person's health. So they got their leniency. They said, "Don't wear it." Not even leniency. They told, "Don't wear it." I said, "That's what comes out." Okay. So here we are. So that's good. Everybody's good with that. Okay. So now he says, so second category is collectivity of humanity, which means that Israel, who are truly referred to as mankind. And he says we learned previously that during the era of dispersion, only Avram was chosen through his actions to be a root for his progeny's establishment as mankind, as an elevated state. Okay, that's the important point there. Based on this order, they composed the first bracha praising Hashem through mention of the created beings in general and their ministers. This includes everything he explains in creation other than Israel. This is why the first bracha contains praise that is based upon the order of the alphabet. And on Shabbos we may say a more expanded version of the praise also based upon the order of the alphabet. This implicitly refers to the whole of creation, which contains within it everything from Aleph to Tav. Okay, yeah.
Is alphabet, is that coming from Aleph Beit, or is Aleph Beit coming from alphabet? I was confused.
Alphabet comes from Aleph Beit.
Okay, because alpha is top. Alpha is the first letter in
Latin.
Greek.
No, yeah.
It's Greek.
Sorry.
Greek language.
It's
So
really like Hebrew.
Yeah.
Very fond of it. They took a lot of things from it and adapted it to their language.
Yeah.
Including the alpha.
all of alpha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, so on and so forth. That's about all I know of Greek. Bill can tell you more. Okay, because he knows Greek. That's not that
But
Greek.
in English, A and B.
Which came
Right.
from, that's from
Similar.
Right.
It's based
Yeah.
on
Okay. Good. So these are references. These are a reference to the created beings below and the malachim above, each one with its arrangements. They included within this a matter of day and night, including the luminaries that rule over them. So he explains, the bracha begins with the mention of light and darkness. The Gemara in Brachot states that we must include mention of the characteristic of day by night and the characteristic of night by day. So the bracha concludes with the mention of the luminaries, sun and moon, which are also mentioned in the middle of the bracha. Then what happens? The second bracha is composed in praise concerning Israel. She says this bracha deals with the role of Israel in learning Torah and observing its mitzvot, and with their returning to Eretz Yisrael, where the mitzvot are ideally meant to be performed. By the way, this is a constant refrain from all of the rabbis that when we do things outside in Galut, in the diaspora, we're not getting the same bang for the buck as if we would be doing it in Eretz Yisrael. We are not supposed to be living in diaspora. We should be ideally be living in Israel. You're going to say, so let's all get out. Let's take the El Al planes, tower, whatever you want to do, fly on over and get it done. The answer is, for those who don't do it, by the way, is that regardless of where we are in the world, until we do what we're supposed to be doing, we're still in the category of Galut. Even if we're in Israel, right? Which is, no matter what you do, you're always going to be in Galut. Now, which Galut is better? Okay? If you're going to ask me which Galut is better, I'm going to tell you Eretz Yisrael. There's no question about it. Because when you're living in Israel and you farm the land, you walk 8 feet in the land, you breathe the air, everything's a mitzvah. The whole concept of living in Eretz Yisrael is still a mitzvah to this day. It's never been wiped off the books. It's always there. Our agricultural laws only apply in Israel. So if I want to get, again, for the best bang for the buck, I'm going to move to Eretz Yisrael. But I should never delude myself to believing that by moving there, assuming all of us would move there, one mass swoop, one fell swoop, thank you, one fell swoop, that would be the end of diaspora. No, it's not. Until we return to Hashem and do what we're supposed to be doing, and Hashem says, welcome home, the real welcome home, that's when we're out of Galut. We're not out of Galut until then. So let's understand that. So I love Israel, I love the land of Israel, I love the people who live there, I have no problem with anybody. But let's understand that they're still in a level, not as badly as me, of Galut. So it doesn't really help to just make a mass move, although I wouldn't mind it myself. Yeah.
Also, just, I don't know if this is like dark humor, or I guess...
Dark humor?
A bit.
Okay.
We're all in the same area, and we decide that's going to be what's going to be outside diaspora. It's not. And also, everyone around us who doesn't like us is going to take the page out of Shimshon's book.
Yeah,
No.
That I won't worry about. As far as the Arabs attacking us and killing us all, you know why I won't worry about that? It's very simple, because Hashem promised us in the Torah that we would never be wiped off. So I'm not worried about the Arabs, whoever wants to destroy us. They don't have the ability to destroy us. We are the only ones who have the ability to destroy ourselves. As Pogo said, I've seen the enemy and it's us. Okay, that's what it says. Okay, now let's just finish. Pogo is a comic. I don't know. It was something from which war? World War II. Okay. It came up in other classes. That's why I know it. Okay, Hashem's love for them. And how, so here we are. Oh, I'm sorry. The second bracha was composed in praise concerning Israel, Hashem's love for them, and how he brought them close to him in his service. Okay, so he says there, that as the bracha states, you have brought us close with your great name, and Das Tuvut, the Ramchal writes, that this closeness began at Sinai. As the Haggadah states, you brought us close before Har Sinai. He writes further there that this closeness is renewed daily. It thus emerges that this concept is related to how Hashem renews the entire creation each day, as he said in the first bracha. And including these two brachot are all the matters are all these matters the way that they are truly meant to be, after which follows the Kriyat Shema. And once we have recognized, he explains, that each day represents a renewal of creation and a new purpose for us in creation, we must rededicate ourselves to accept the yoke of Hashem's sovereignty in the Shema. We'll have to stop there.